Ash Hollow is a small town where the sun often fails to penetrate the dense morning fog, and the call of an owl is sometimes more familiar than the church bells. Eli Whitmore has lived here all his life. He is known as the coffin maker, not just because it's his father's job, but because of the dedication with which he cuts, carves, and seals each piece of wood as if it were a soul. Clara, his wife, died one cold afternoon, quick and cruel as a knife. The police said it was an accident, a fall down the stairs from the second floor. But Eli didn't believe it. He sat beside the oak coffin he'd made for Clara in the living room, with candles flickering and a clock ticking. Only a few people came to the funeral. Ash Hollow wasn't very populated, and those who did were afraid of Eli. They said he wouldn't let his wife rest in peace. He didn't want to bury her. Not yet. Waning crescent moon, the first night after the funeral. Eli sat on the wooden chair, his eyes fixed on the coffin. Clara lay still inside, her skin as pale as wax, her lips pressed together as if she were keeping a secret. He pressed his ear to the coffin lid, waiting, hoping, or fearing. And then a small knock came from inside. Click. He stood up, his heart pounding. Maybe it was just his imagination. But then another sound. Clack, clack. He opened the lid with a trembling voice. Inside, Clara was still lying motionless, but her eyes seemed to have tears. He touched her cheek, cold. Then he looked down at her hands. The nails were chipped, red with blood, and inside the coffin lid, clear scratches. Scroll the coffin maker's story. I used to think a coffin was a final resting place. But then I learned one thing. If someone is put in the wrong place, it is no longer a resting place. Eli began to keep a diary of the sounds, the dreams, and the changes in the atmosphere of the house after Clara died. The lights flickered. The clock stopped at 3:17 a.m. The time Clara fell down the stairs. And always a knock. Soft, patient, as if the person inside didn't want to break the silence, but was just begging someone to listen. Fog. 1 week after the funeral. Eli Whitmore grew gaunt. He stopped eating, drank only cold coffee, and listened to the creaking sound of his coffin every night. He began to talk to Clara, at first in a whisper, then out loud. He told her about their early days together, their wedding under the old elm tree in front of the house, the time Clara cried when she couldn't have children. The story flowed out, as if he were confessing, or as if she were actually listening. And then, on the 8th night, Clara replied. Eli, the voice was not loud, but it was clear, murmuring like wind through wood. Eli froze. Her voice came from the coffin, from inside. He pressed his ear to the wooden lid. Don't let them bury you. They were wrong, Eli. Mantelpiece clock. The signs are getting stranger and stranger. Every night, the mirror near the coffin would fog up, leaving behind what looked like fingerprints from inside the mirror. In the corner of the house, black flies gathered, but there were no dead bodies or foul odors. The neighbor's cat, Luna, ran into the house, stared at the coffin, and screeched like it had seen a ghost. Eli dreamed of Clara buried alive, clawing at the dirt walls, her mouth full of dirt and blood. Hammerwood knows how to remember. Eli decided to open the coffin again, one last time. When he did, Clara was no longer the same. Her eyes were half open. Her lips were chapped. Her fingernails were long and bloody. But there was no sign of decomposition. He closed the coffin, but the whispering remained. He sought out his father, now elderly and frail, who had been a town coffin maker for 50 years. The old man said, "Not all wood is used for coffins. There's a kind that absorbs pain. The kind you used is oak from the old cemetery. It was a fence around the execution site. That wood, it remembers, and it calls." Scroll Clara wrote a letter? One morning, Eli woke up to find a piece of paper next to the coffin. The paper was yellowed. The ink was smudged, but the handwriting was Clara's. They buried you in the wrong place, underground, no fit for mortals. You're not dead, Eli. You've just been robbed of your voice. I have to get you out of here before the blood moon comes. Luggage Eli's past. What no one knows. Eli is more than just a coffin maker. He's also a man who once covered up a crime the town of Ash Hollow would rather forget. 10 years ago, there was a secret execution in the woods. A woman accused of killing her child. No court, no lawyer, just the villagers and the noose. And Eli, then 24, was chosen to make her coffin, but her body was never buried, because when he arrived, she was still alive, beaten to death, eyes still open, whispering, "I didn't kill it. I saw it crawling back from the forest. It's not my child anymore." Eli panicked, and he closed the coffin anyway. Closed the lid, sealed it. New moon wood from old cemetery. That coffin he buried deep in the woods. No gravestone, no name. But then a tree grew from that spot, a large oak, which was where he cut the wood for Clara's coffin. Now he understood. He had sealed a vengeful spirit, then used that very wood to build a new home for his beloved wife. Clara is not alone in the coffin. She is trapped with another soul, one wrongly convicted and never forgiven. Drop of blood stains on what do not dry. Eli broke the coffin lid in the middle of the night. Clara was no longer looking at him. Her eyes were wide open, as if looking into his soul. The scratches in the coffin were spreading, and blood dripped from the tips of her fingernails, but it did not flow. It just stood there, as if waiting for someone to drink it. On the wooden board, a faintly engraved name appeared. Not Clara, which is Margaret, the hollow mother. Studio microphone, talking mirror. The mirror in the living room cracked from the inside, and that night, Eli saw the mirror reflect what the room didn't have. A second coffin, black, rotten, and open. From within it, a woman's face emerged, long hair, a wide-open mouth with sharp black teeth, and a whisper like cracking wood. "Give back my name." Waning crescent moon Margaret, the hollow mother. Eli took the oil lamp and went down to the basement where he kept the remaining pieces of wood from the old oak tree. He wanted to burn it all down to end Clara's bond with the evil spirit in the coffin. But as the fire burned, a woman's laughter echoed from the floor above, broken dry, like someone laughing with a hollow throat. He ran up. Clara was no longer in the coffin, and on the wall, written in black ash from the fire, "She's mine now." Stethoscope the doctor examined the body, and the unbelievable. Eli takes the now empty coffin to the town's old coroner's office, asking the old doctor, Mr. Crane, to help examine the piece of wood inside. The old man trembled as he scraped the wood off. "My God, this is an oak. This is carrion. The kind that only grows where people are buried alive." Under the microscope, the wood fibers contain human cells, and the resin inside, not resin, but coagulated blood plasma. Back to the forest, where it all began. Eli followed his memory to the oak tree where he had buried Margaret. The tree was dead now. Only a withered trunk and a cluster of uprooted roots remained. There was a small vault there, covered with stones. He pushed the stones away. Underneath was another coffin, torn apart from the inside. On the lid, small fingerprints, like a child's. And the letter was pinned in with a sewing needle. "I gave birth to my child in the dark. It had no eyes, no mouth. It screamed with its soul, and it found a new mother." The town begins to see strange things. In the old Ash Hollow church, all the saints were face down. In the elementary school, 6 students drew the same thing, a blank-faced mother holding a faceless child. Dead doves fell on Eli's doorstep, all without eyes. Clara still hadn't returned, but Eli began to hear a lullaby echoing through the house every night. Go to sleep, my love, I'm here. No eyes, no mouth, but I'm still smiling. Candle, the last whisper. For 3 nights in a row, Eli did not sleep. Every night. The empty coffin by the fireplace opened by itself, and a lullaby came out as if from underground. In the mirror, he saw Clara holding something. Not the child he had dreamed of, but a smooth creature, mouthless, eyeless, all teeth. He knew Margaret had chosen his wife to give birth to the child of hatred. Hammered the ceremony of closing the coffin lit again, forever. Eli remembered what the old man in town used to say. There are souls that do not want to leave. They will only rest if someone else takes their place in the grave. He prepared the coffin again. Clean wood, no blood, no history. Then he placed something inside. A wedding photo of him and Clara, and a black nail taken from the root of an old oak tree. He didn't intend to bury Clara. He intended to bury himself, to buy her life back. Skull the last night, mother and child. When the lullaby sounded again, Eli took off his shirt, stepped into the coffin, and knocked 3 times. The house was silent. The lights went out, and Margaret appeared in the mirror, holding the faceless child. But this time, Clara was also in the mirror, sitting next to her and crying. Margaret walked toward Eli. No yelling, no screaming. Just say, "You accept for me? I was buried alive. No one heard my voice. You will hear my child cry forever. Pick the ending no one witnessed." The next morning, the postman found Eli's door wide open. Inside, a closed coffin, the lid fastened with 7 black nails. No body. No Clara. There's only one handwritten letter. I have kept silent for too long. Now I will be the one to listen. Let Clara live. If anyone has ever buried a soul unjustly, do not make a coffin from their soil. They remember every nail that was hammered. 1 year later, Clara returned to town. Quietly. No one knows where she has been all this time. She did not talk much, but every evening she sat by the fire, sewing old dresses and placed it beside the empty cradle. Sometimes the neighbors heard her lullaby, still the same lullaby. The only difference is the voice isn't hers.